Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Dustin Poirier to defeat Justin Gaethje, and that was in the rematch. And I'm here to talk about Cub Swanson versus Hakeem Dawodo. Hakeem is 13-3-1, 32 years old, and he's got 2 inches of reach over Cub Swanson, who is 39 years old, 28-13 as a pro, and has the same height. Hakeem, he's got 7 TKO victories, 6 decisions, no submissions. He's definitely a very good striker, but not the most dangerous guy in the world. He's not even close. He's just a guy that I think maybe has his own cardio management issues or whatever, but he never seems to exert himself so much. And I do have doubts about how he'd do in a firefight, even though he seems to be pretty healthy and I think deceptively dangerous. I think, you know, if he went for it and in a firefight you really have no choice, he'd probably get a lot more finishes because he's a solid striker and a damn good athlete too. He has 3 losses, 1 via submission, 2 via decision. They all come in the UFC. He lost to Julian Erosa and Movsar Evloev. Both guys beat him by out-grappling him largely. Movsar is one of the best in the world, and Julian Erosa, if he had an iron chin, he'd be the best fighter in the world. But the fact that Hakeem couldn't knock him out, I think, speaks to his overall lack of danger. Because he couldn't get him out of there, and then Julian Erosa, you know, that was his fight. And Danny Henry is the one guy to beat him by submission. He got him with a guillotine very early in round 1. And that was after he clipped him. He clipped Hakeem, had him rocked, and then snatched a guillotine choke. So it is a strike against his chin and his submission defense, sure. But it's only happened once that he's been finished. And it took getting knocked down and knocked around to present the guillotine. It's okay, Stevie. Stevie the cat. Hakeem is a reliable point fighter, though, when he's not being out-grappled anyway, like against Erosa and Movsar. But he's got 6 decision wins, just 2 decision losses. Most of the time in a points battle, he's walking away with a victory. He's beaten some good fighters. Trezano, Zubaira Tukhugov, Julio Arce, Kyle Bochniak. And, of course, before he got to the UFC, he had some good wins as well. Knocked out Mike Malott in the WSOF. The World Series of Fighting. Now Malott is fighting 25 pounds higher. But, yeah, he's Hakeem Dawodo is definitely a solid fighter who's here to stay. He may never get the shine until he, you know, gets a few more finishes. But, you know, if he's settled into his role as a point fighter, he's still far above average in the UFC. Cub Swanson, he's far above average in everything as well, Cub Swanson. He's a very good fighter. We've known him forever. He's a versatile guy. 28 wins. He's got 13 TKOs, just 4 submissions and 11 decisions. But he is a jiu-jitsu black belt. Having said that, that's his primary way of losing. He's been submittable throughout his career. 13 losses. He's got 3 knockouts, 7 submissions, 3 decisions. The submissions all come to excellent fighters. You know, inside the UFC, Moicano, Frankie Edgar, Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, a lot of killers that got him. Ricardo Lamas, of course. But that's over the course of 20 fucking years at this point, 15 years at least. And most of it fighting at a high level, so it's forgivable. He has been knocked out 3 times, and what's interesting there is the only time he was knocked out with a head strike was the Jose Aldo, and that was in 2008 or 9 or whatever it was, with a flying switch knee, jumping knee, whatever the fuck. It was the Jorge Masvidal knee. And there's no shame in losing like that, especially when it's Jose Aldo throwing it. But I'll bring this up. His chin, he was rocked there. I'm sure he was fucked up, but he didn't go unconscious. So I bring that up to speak to his overall health as a fighter. He wasn't unconscious there, and in his other 2 TKO victories, they were the kickers. You know, Jonathan Martinez kicked him in the legs, and Giga Chikadze kicked him in the body. You know, legit knockout loss and whatever, but all a different way. You know, the legs, the body, the chin. So it's not like Cub's got one particular weakness as far as the strikes go. But overall, the fact that he has 2 TKO losses consecutively, you know, that's after 40-plus fights, I feel like it's no coincidence. It speaks to the overall decline of Cub Swanson. He's getting slower and a little more potentially fragile. He's still a dog, though. If you don't TKO him or, you know, kick the shit out of him, maybe literally, he's very much in the fight. Cub is good everywhere, especially on the feet. He's a really good striker, and he's picked up some solid wins with striking in the last few years. Darren Elkins, he looked incredible against Darren Elkins. Pretty much steamrolled him, but had great range control there, which allowed spinning wheel kicks and whatever the fuck. Just looked incredible. He also knocked out Daniel Pineda, knocked him out with a big right hand, and that was in the second round. Daniel Pineda had a lot of momentum there, and as he's proven, he's dangerous, very fucking dangerous in the UFC even. So that was a nice win. And we've also seen Cub play the role of the neutralizer, fighting guys that are a little limited, you know, like Kron Gracie. Not too many tactics there. You know, once you shut down Plan A, you're winning. But Cub was the first guy to shut down Plan A, and he looked good doing so. Really neutralized Artem Lobov, too. Artem Lobov was a really underrated guy, believe it or not. Very underrated, but he had nothing for Cub. And Cub's also had plenty of wars. Beat Doo Ho Choi in what's a Hall of Fame fight. Beat Dustin Poirier way back when. Beat him by decision. I think that was even a main event. I forget. But, no, I don't think it was, actually. But either way, Cub Swanson looked really good in that fight. And Dustin, of course, got better in every realm there. But there, he was a step behind Cub everywhere. And I think Cub Swanson, the fact that he hasn't had a weak chin or a weak body or weak legs or whatever, it's 1-1-1. Despite him losing twice via TKO lately, it makes me confident in him. You know, if he got knocked out with chin shots at all 3 of those TKO losses, and especially twice lately after he's, you know, 38, 39 years old, I would have a lot more doubts. But despite picking Hakeem Dawodo, and I am picking Hakeem to win, I think he will win, probably a decision. You know, Hakeem controlling the range and really kicking better than Cub Swanson. But despite that, I'm throwing a bet on Cub Swanson. I think Cub Swanson could overwhelm Hakeem, crowd him on the feet, maybe hit some nice takedowns. I think Cub Swanson would be very wise to go for some takedowns against Hakeem Dawodo. Of course, that's his primary weakness, being on the ground and on his back especially. But Cub Swanson, you know, he's a really good striker, and that would help him out on the feet tremendously. Just giving Hakeem something to think about. I'm betting on Cub Swanson by decision, plus 350. It's just a fucking sprinkle. And I really want Cub to win for the sake of, you know, wanting the veterans to win and whatever. But my heart's not totally into it. Again, my pick is Hakeem Dawodo wins a decision. I think he controls the range against Cub Swanson, wins the kicking battle, and kind of takes Cub out of his groove on the feet. Because Cub Swanson, if he's in his groove and he starts to get off on you, he looks really good. He gets better and better, you know, and really starts finding his groove like he did in the Doo Ho Choi fight. But yeah, Dawodo by decision is the pick. Cub Swanson by decision is the bet, and it's just a sprinkle. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.